Good morning, my Algebra 2 students. I hope you guys are doing great. We're going to move on. We're going to move to lesson 5.7. So we're going to jump over 5.6 and move straight into lesson 5.7. This lesson is called the Binomial Theorem. For today's lesson, you're going to need paper, pencil, a calculator, your textbook. We're going to be on page 326. And tonight's homework will be page 329. We'll be doing the evens, 8 through 22. You would write your answers on paper. You can take a picture and send it to me through the homework drop on Grinweb. That way I can grade everything and shoot you back feedback. Or you can do the old school method where you guys take a picture and just send it to me on the Remind app. So either is fine, but those are the only two places I like to look for your homework. It's the homework drop or you guys sending it to me through the Remind app. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and get started with this binomial theorem. Alright, so here we go. We're going to first talk about what the binomial theorem is and what it represents. So I'm going to write this. And you will want to write this down because you're going to need this for your homework and not just for the homework. You're going to need this chart to help you with your upcoming quiz and with your test. So it's really important that you understand this binomial theorem. Alright, so please write this, have this chart handy with you. Alright, so the chart that we're going to have on our binomial theorem is a few things. So I'm going to write way over here. We're going to talk about first things are rows. So we're going to talk about the row whatever we have. So the first row we're going to start out as row 0. It means you don't have a row, which is row 0. That's like a constant. It means it doesn't have a degree. So remember we have like a number like 2 is a constant or 57 is a constant because it has no variable and its degree is 0. So that represents like our degree of 0. So this 0 represents degree of 0. Row 1 represents a degree of 1. So we're looking at something to the first power, like a linear. Then we're going to have row 2, degree of 2. Row 3, degree of 4. And row 4, degree of 4. We're going to kind of just start there, and then I'm going to build you a little bit more out later. Alright. So what's happening here in our rows is things are raised to different powers. That's kind of what we talked about a second ago when I said degree of 0, degree of 1, 2, etc. So here we're going to have a binomial. Some value plus or minus. Sometimes it might be a minus, so my b value might be negative. But this is going to be raised to the 0 power. So we don't have a power. Then we're going to take our a value plus our b value, we're going to raise it to the first power. So my degree is 1. And we're going to take our a value plus our b value and raise it to the second power. And we'll take our a value plus our b value and raise it to the third power. And then we'll take our a value plus our b value and raise it to the fourth power. Alright, so these are just powers, and the powers will help you identify the rows, okay? So then we're going to talk about when we take this and we expand it out. This becomes expanded form. So expanded form is going to look like a little triangle when I start to expand this out. So like when you think of a triangle, it has a really high peak and it gets wider as we go to the base. So we're going to kind of start that out that way. So anything we've learned previous years in Algebra 1, if we take any value, no matter what it is, if I raise it to the 0 power, it's equal to 1. So there's where our 1 starts in, because that represents any value to the 0 power is 1. To find this next value, the a value plus the b value, all we do here is we just take our a value, so we got 1 times a plus 1 times b. That's all we have. To go to the second power, we're using those rules that we've learned before when we take a PST and it comes back to here. We've got our 1 times a to the second plus we'll have 2 times a times b plus b to the second. Then we cube a power. We're going to have 1 times a to the third power plus 3 times a squared b plus 3 times a times b squared, that one up there, And then we're going to do plus 1 times b to the third power. Then to do our fourth power, we're going to do 1 times a to the fourth power plus 4 times a to the third power b plus 6 times a to the second power times b to the second power plus 4 times a times b to the third power, and then plus 1 times b to the fourth power. Alright, so now you're like, oh my lanta, Miss Hebert, you just made my head go whoop whoop in the house. And I'm like, I'm going to show you how this works, and you're going to be like, that's not so bad. It just looks cray cray right now. So we're going to show you this in a triangle form with just the coefficients. And you're going to be like, oh, this is so easy. And then you'll understand. So the top of our triangle, we only have one coefficient. So I'll put this coefficients only. Coefficients. Alright. So only the coefficients. So to bring this up a little bit because I need to keep that in view, but I need to have some room. Okay. My first coefficient is 1. So we're going to start out with 1. Then my next two coefficients are also 1 and 1. Alright, so after this row, it gets like a pattern. Every row will start with 1, and every row will end with 1. Notice we start with 1, end with 1. Start with 1, end with 1. Starts with 1, ends with 1. All the way down the triangle. All the values in between, I'm going to show you a pattern and how to get to those. So again, so the third row, you're going to move over slightly and start with 1. To get the middle term, it's going to go right in here. You add these two together. So what's 1 plus 1? That's right, it's 2. And you end with 1. To go to the next row, to row 3, here, or row 3, this is row 0. So remember, this is row 0, this is row 1, this is row 2, this is row 3. So row 3, we start with 1 off to the side. We're making this long triangle. We'll add these two together. So 1 plus 2 is, that's right, 3. And 2 plus 1 is, that's right, 3. And then we end with 1. And notice, 1, 3, 3, 1. All right, to go row 4, oops. My elbow hit my computer, sorry. To go to row 4, again, we start out here with 1. We add 1 plus 3, that's right, 4. 3 plus 3, that's 6. 3 plus 1, that's 4. And then we end with 1. So look, 1, 4, 6, 4, 1. Beautiful. But now I'm going to show you to go all the way to row 8 because sometimes we need big ones. So I'm going to go to row 5. Even though I don't have all this written up here for 5, I really don't need that. I need here. So remember, I'm going to start with 1 and add 1 plus 4. That's right, 5. 4 plus 6, 10. 6 plus 4, 10. 4 plus 1, 5. And then we end with 1. Row 6. We're going to start with 1. 1 plus 5, that's right, 6. 5 plus 10, 15. 10 plus 10, 20. 10 plus 5, 15. 5 plus 1, that's 6. And it ends with 1. So move up. We're going to 2 more rows. Row 7. Start with 1. 1 plus 6, that's right, 7. 6 plus 15 is 21. 15 plus 20 is 35. 20 plus 15 is 35. 15 plus 6 is 21. 6 plus 1 is 7, and then 1. And then our final row we're going to do is 8. I might actually, if I could get room, I'd like to try to get you guys maybe through 10, I think. Or 8 should be good enough. We'll just stay to 8. We'll go to 1. 1 plus 7 is 8. 7 plus 21 is 28. 21 plus 35 is 56. 35 plus 35 is 70. 35 plus 21 is 56. And then we have 21 plus 7 is 28. And 7 plus 1 is 8. And then we end with 1. Beautiful. This is our gorgeous Pascal's triangle. That's what this is called. This is called Pascal's triangle. Pascal said if we use this triangle, we can multiply any binomial and either raise it to the 0 power, to the whatever power we want, and it will follow the same rule every single time. These represent just your coefficients. What you have to know up here, I'm going to bring this down a smidge so you guys can see, because I want everything to be in view. If I can get it all in here. Oh, look at there, I can, yay! All right. So everything goes down with your A value. So your A value starts at whatever power this is, to the first power. So my A started at the first power and then went down to no power. Then my B value starts at the back end with this power, and then it declines. So B to the first power, B to no power. So we look at our A to the second, A to the second, A to the first, no A. B to the second, B to the first, no B. And it goes A to the third, A to the second, A to the first, no A. Then the B's work backwards. B to the third, going down, B to the second, B to the first, B to the 0, which is no B. Then to the fourth power, A to the fourth, A to the third, A to the second, A to the first, no A. And then B to the fourth, to the third, to the second, to the first, then no B. So these are going to help us because sometimes A and B are going to be numbers. They might be an individual variable x. They might be a number like 3 or 9 or -2. So once we put our coefficients in, we'll put our A value and our B values in there. So I'm going to show you how this works. So in order for you to do this, I've got to move Pascal's triangle out of view. But what I need you to do is keep this beside you as we're working through these problems so that when I'm copying these rows, you know exactly where I'm getting them from. And remember, these rows right here determine our degree. So those are based off these exponents here that you're going to have on the outside. All right? So the best way you're going to understand that is if we try a few. So we're going to turn in your books to page 329. And we're going to do some of the odds together tonight since I'm having you do the evens for homework. So I want to work through these with you. So page 329 is where I want you to go, page 329. And I'm going to start with number 9, which says a plus 2. And it's raised to the 4th power. Now we're going to do some simple ones, basically some easy ones, some medium ones, and some hard ones. All follow the same pattern, but you have to do a little bit more work in there. But I have really a lot of confidence in you guys. All right, so if this is our polynomial that they're giving us, a plus b, or binomial, and it's being raised to the 4th power, the first thing we have to ask is what is the degree? So my degree is 4. So we'll bring this back in. Since my degree is 4, bring this up a little bit more. I need to go to row 4, and these are my coefficients. 1, 4, 6, 4, 1. Those are my coefficients. All right? So now I have to remember my A value and my B value. So I'm going to switch up colors real fast. So I'm going to write down what I know. I know this is a degree of 4. I know that my A value is equal to A, because that's the A value. And I know that my B value is equal to a positive 2, because that's my B value. All right, so at least I know who my A value and my B value are. I remember from a degree of 4 that my A value starts out to the 4th power. So I start out to the 4th power and I don't have a B value. Then I'm going to go and my A value is going to go down to the 3rd power and my B value is going to come in to the 1st power. Then my A value is going to go down to the 2nd power and my B value is going to come up to the 2nd power. Then my A value is going to go down to the first power, and my b value is going to become the third power. And then finally, I won't have an a value, but I'll just have my b value to the fourth power. Probably should have wrote a little further over. All right, so I'm going to go here, pick up my chart, my row 4, which is 1, 4, 6, 4, 1. I'm going to put those coefficients in. 1, 4, 6, 4, 1. All right. Since this is positive, everybody in here will be positive. So it'll be a plus, a plus, a plus, a plus. All right, so we're good. So now I'm going to drop in my values. I said my a value was a, so let's put a in all those first spots. A until I run out of a's. Then I said my b value was 2, so I'll put 2 in everywhere for my b values. Beautiful. So now I've done, but now all I have to do is actually solve the problem. Well, a to the fourth power is a to the fourth times 1 is 1a to the fourth. All right? So then I've got 4 times a to the third times 2. Well, a to the third power is a to the third. So then I multiply the coefficients. 4 times 2 is 8a to the third. All right? So I need to figure out what this value is, because I know a to the second is just a to the second. But I got to know what 2 squared is. 2 to the second power is, that's right, 4. And 4 times 6 is, correct, 24. So 24a to the second power. Then I got to go down here using my exponents first. So 2 to the third power is 8. 8 times 4 is 32. And then that's an a. And then I'm going to move to the final one, 2 to the fourth power. 2 to the third is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. So 16. This is my final answer. So a to the fourth, b to the fourth. So this would be your final answer. Right there. All right, we're going to try Nutter Butter. Okay, I got faith in y'all. All right, so let's do number 11. The x minus 5 cubed. Number 11 is x minus 5 to the third power. All right, so the first thing I want you to identify is what? That's correct, Lainey. Degree. So what is my degree, Coco? That's correct. My degree is 3. Right there. That's my degree. All right, so what's the next thing I need to identify? Raina Smith. That's right, my a value and my b value. All right, Raina, what is my a value? That's correct. It is x. That is my a value. What is my b value? That's correct. It's negative 5. So that's my b value. All right, so the a value and the b value come into play when we're dealing with these guys. So everywhere we see an a value, we replace a with whatever's in the a spot, and we replace the b value with whatever's in the b spot. Okay? All right. So when we're dealing with 3, on that third row. So in our third row, remember our leading coefficient is what? On the third, yep, our leading coefficient is 1. And then we go to our a value, and it's going to be raised to the third power. All right, plus. I'll write this down, plus. The leading coefficient, what's our next leading coefficient on that third row? That's right, it's 3. Beautiful. Then I have my a value to the second power, and then my b value starts to come into play. And I got plus. What's the third coefficient? That's right, it's 3. Then my a value goes down 3, 2, 1. And my b value goes up. No b, b to the first, b to the second. Plus, and then my final leading coefficient, as corrected, is 1. This time I don't have an a value. I just have a b value raised to the third power. So a to the third, a to the second, a to the first, no a. B to the third, b to the second, b to the first, no b. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and substitute those values in. My a value is x, so a to the third, x to the second, x to the first, no x. Going to pick up. My b value is negative 5. Negative 5 to the third power, negative 5 to the second power, negative 5 to the first power, and no negative 5. Alright, so this is where your calculators will come into play. I'll bring this up so you guys can see better. So that you're multiplying, but it's important when you're putting these in, especially with negatives, that you are putting them in parentheses. This guy on. If we don't put our answer in parentheses like this, especially when we're squaring or cubing, especially with squaring and raising things to the fourth power, you'll be off. You're going to get the wrong answer, and I don't want you to do that. I want you to get the correct answers. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So here we just got 1 times x cubed. Well, 1 times x cubed is 1x cubed. So here now we've got 3 times x squared times negative 5. Well, since this is a variable, we don't have to really, it just stays x squared. So now I got 3 times negative 5, which is a negative 15, and then we have our x squared. Here we've got 3 times x times negative 5 squared. So now I got to take that negative 5, and I've got to square it and multiply it by 3, and I'll get a positive 75, not a negative 75. Because if you would have done negative 5 squared times 3, now you're going to get a negative 75. Because it's squaring the 5 and then multiplying it by a negative 1. So those parentheses are very, very, very important. Alright, so then you're going to have 75 times x, which is a positive 75x. And then we're going to do 1 times negative 5 cubed. So we're going to put that in our calculator. 1 times negative 5. We're going to raise it to the third power, and then we'll get negative 125. Negative 125. So this is like your 1, 3, 3, 1. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 coefficients, so 1, 2, 3, 4 answers. This is your final answer. Alright, we're going to move on. Ooh. Let's see, hang on one second. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and move on, change this page up real fast. We're going to do another one. We're going to do number 17. We're going to skip all the way down to 17. Alright, number 17 is going to read a plus 3b raised to the fourth power. Okay, this is where it's going to pick up just a little bit. That's why it's important that you have the pattern and you drop things in so you don't mess anything up. So putting the patterns and filling in the correct way is going to make it easy for you. Otherwise, it's going to make it more difficult, and I don't want that to happen. So again, first thing we still have to know that's not going to change. We have to know what first, Jeremiah Burton. That's right, the degree. We have to know the degree. If we don't know the degree, we don't know what row we're going to. So my degree is what? That is correct, 4. So if I know my degree is 4, I know I'm in this fourth row, I know I'm following this pattern right here. And if you guys need me to expand this for you for 5, 6, 7, and 8, let me know to remind, and I will do that and send a picture out for you guys, okay? I'll make sure you have everything you need. If that helps you out having these exponents in there, if that's easier for you for substitution purposes, I'll go ahead and do that. In fact, I'll just go ahead and do that and send you guys a picture and remind on the day you do this homework. Okay. And let me know if I forget, because you know me, I'm old. Okay, so what's the next thing I have to know? Lainey. That's right, I gotta know who my A value is and my B value. Alright, Gio, who's my A value? That's correct. My A value happens to just be A. Alright, who is my B value then? Andres? That's right, my B value is 3B. The whole thing is my B value. Alright, so my degree of 4, I'm in that row 4, so on your row 4, who is your first leading coefficient? That's right, it is 1. And after that, we start with our A value raised to the fourth power. And do we have a B value? You're correct, we don't. So plus, then we're going to move on. What's our next leading coefficient? That's correct, it is 4. Alright, then we're going to move to our A value, and it's going to be raised to the third power. And we'll have our B value who's now going to enter the picture. All right, what's my next leading coefficient? That's right, it is 6. So plus 6. All right, so my A value is going to go down to the second power, and my B value is going to come up to the second power. All right, what is my next leading coefficient? That's correct, it's a positive 4. All right, then my A value is going to go down to the first power, and my B value is going to come up to the third power. All right, and what is my last coefficient? That is correct, it's a positive 1. All right, so then I don't have an A value, but my B value is raised to the fourth power. So again, I start with the fourth power, and I will end with the fourth power. Then we'll go ahead and start substituting my A values. A is A, so A to the fourth, A to the third, A to the second, A to the first, no A. Then my B value, sorry, here on the back, my B value is 3B, so 3B to the fourth, 3B to the third, 3B to the second, 3B to the first, and no B. All right? All right, so when we have just a variable and a coefficient of 1, it's pretty easy. So I've got 1 times A to the fourth, which is just A to the fourth. But as we move over here, since these are all positives, there's no negatives, we're just going to put plus. All right, so now we need to figure out, we've got 4 times A to the third times 3 times 3B. So we know A to the third, there's no numbers in here, so they're not going to affect my 4, and they're not going to affect this. So A to the third is just A to the third. So now we got 4 times 3B. So 4 times 3 is 12. And then we've got the A to the third, and then you have your B. All right? Here, we have got to square this 3B squared first before we can multiply it by 6. So 3B squared means I got to multiply 3 times 3 and B times B. So 3 times 3 is 9, and B times B is B squared. Now I'm going to take that 9B squared times my A squared, because this makes A squared, and then I'll multiply it times my 6. So now I got 6 times 9, which is 54. Then I have my A squared, B squared. All right, as I move down the line, I've got to solve this. I've got to do 3 to the third power, which means 3 times 3 times 3, which is 27. And then I'm going to do B times B times B, which is B to the third. Then I've got to multiply that 4 times my 27, and I'll get 108. And my A is to the first power, and my B is to the third power. Then on my final one, I've got to solve this. I've got to do 3 to the fourth power, which would be, this is 3 to the third is 27, times 3 again makes 81. Then we got B to the fourth power, which is B times B times B times B, which is B to the fourth. And all 81 times 1 is 81, and then my B to the fourth power. So again, we start with the fourth power, and we end to the fourth power. This is my 1A to the fourth power, and this is my 3B to the fourth power. My 1A to the fourth power, my 3B to the fourth power. And this is my final answer. All right, we're going to do another butter. Ready, number 19. All right, we got 4 minus x, and this is going to be raised to the 8th power. Ooh, that's a big one. All right, that's a big one. All right, big one. We can do this. I got confidence in us. It might be long, but we can do it. Okay, what is our degree first? AJ Hines. That's right. Degree is 8. Beautiful, beautiful. All right, after know my degree, what do I need to know, Mackenzie? That's right, my A value and my B value. All right, Mackenzie, what is my A value? Beautiful, my A value is 4. There it is, that's my A value. What is my B value? That's right, my B value is negative x, because that is my whole B value. All right, so this is a long one. which means you might have to write like a rows or something. I don't know if I can squeeze them all in there, but I'm going to try. All right, so, okay, so we're going to go ahead and squeeze these in as best as we can. All right, so we're going to start off with our row 8, so we're going to pull this in the screen real fast. All right, sorry, make a head spin there. Okay, row 8 is this final big long row right there. Sorry, guys, I was putting lotion on my hands. All right, so we're going to go all the way down here. We've got to have all these coefficients. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 coefficients. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then we're going to have our A to the 8th, to the 7th, to the 6th, to the 5th, to the 4th, to the 3rd, to the 2nd, to the 1st, no A. And then our B to the 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, no B. So all that's got to go in there. So we're going to do our best and squeeze it in there. So we're going to start with our first coefficient, which is 1. And then remember we started out with our A value. We raised to the 8th power, and we're not going to have a B value. All right, then our second coefficient is going to be 8. And then our A value is going to be raised to the 7th power. And then our B value will be to the 1st power. All right, then our next coefficient is going to be 28. And our A value is going to go down to the 6th power, while our B value is going to come up to the 2nd power. Then we're going to have our third coefficient, which is 56. And our A value is going to go down to the 5th power, while our B value is going to come up to the 3rd power. Then our next coefficient, which would be 70. All right, and our A value is going to go down to the 4th power, and your B value is going to come up to the 2nd power. So I got to go down the next line, plus. Let's squeeze down here, plus. Our next coefficient is back to 56. All right, our A value is going to go down to the 3rd power, and our B value, oh, I didn't go up. 1, 2, 3, this should be a 4. Sorry, 4. So the B value is going to go up to the 5th power. Then our next coefficient is going to be 28, and our A value is going to go down to the 2nd power, and our B value is going to come up to the 6th power. We're going to have 8. And then our A value is going to go down to the 1st power, and our B value is going to come up to the 7th power. And we're going to end with our coefficient of 1. And we will not have an A value this time, but our B value will be the 8. So now we should be able to see your A value is at 8, 7, 6. Then your B value is going to be 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, no B. And we're going to go ahead and plug in those A values and those B values. So we said our A value is 4, so 8th power, 7th power, 6th power, 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st, none. Here, this is our none. We're going to do our B value. Our B value is negative x. So to the 8th, to the 7th, to the 6th, to the 5th, to the 4th, to the 3rd, to the 2nd, to the 1st, and then no. Alright, so I bring this guy up. Alright, this is when you have a long, big degree. The reason why you want to do this method instead of the other method is because otherwise you'd have to write this 4 minus x, 8 identical parentheses. You'd have to FOIL, then FOIL, then FOIL, then FOIL, then multiply, multiply. It'd be a lot of multiplying to get the same answer as this method of dropping things in. So we're going to do what we know to do, and we're going to use our calculator to help us. So we've got to first find what is 1 times 4 to the 8th. So we're going to find that 4 to the 8th power, which is a big old number. Okay, when we put in 4 to the 8th power, we get this 65,536. So I'm going to write that down. 65,536. All right, we'll bring this up more. That is my first answer. Then I've got to multiply 4 to the 7th power, then times a positive 8, and then times my variable, which is a negative x. So I'm going to go 4 to the 7th power. All right, here it goes, jump back in again. All right, so we're going to do our 4, and we got to raise it to the 7th power. And then, after we raise it to the 7th power, we got to multiply it by 8. So times 8. We're going to get this big old number, 131,072. And then, we're going to multiply that by a negative x. And it's going to make it a negative 131,072 x to the 5th power. First power. Ooh. Oh no. Yeah, x to the 1st power. I don't know why I put 5th power. Oh, because I was looking here and not looking there like a bing bing. Sorry. Alright, so now we're going to move to this one. Alright, so now we've got to do 4 to the 6th power times 28. So 4 to the 6th power and then times 28. Oh, I get a big old whack and whack number. Now, when I square this here, a negative times a negative will be a positive. That's right. So it becomes a positive x squared. So it keeps my answer still positive. So I'll write this number in 114,688. And negative x times negative x, sorry, it's positive x squared. All right. So now I'm going to multiply 56 times 4 to the 5th. So 56 times 4 to the 5th. All right. Now, when I do a negative x cubed, this is the same as negative 1x cubed. So it's like taking a negative 1 times a negative 1 times a negative 1, which is a negative 1. So if we do negative 1 cubed, you're going to get a negative. So I'm basically multiplying these two together and then times negative 1. So we'll take this answer times 56 times the 4 back to the 5th power. Here you can see what I'm talking about. And see, we're going to get a negative answer. So write in a negative 57,344, and that's an x to the 3rd power. All right, so we're moving down this line. When you have an odd number of negatives, your answer will be negative. When you have an even number of negatives, it'll be positive because it's the same as negative 1 times x to the 4th. So it'll be like negative 1 raised to the 4th power, and see we get a positive 1. So anytime our exponent is an even number, and what you're bringing to that power is a negative, it will end up being a positive value. So since it's going to be a positive answer because these are both positives, put my plus down. I'm going to do 70 times 4 to the 4th, and I get 17,920, and then that's x to the 4th. Alright, so I've got to keep moving down the line. I'm here, so I've got 56 times 4 to the 3rd times a negative x to the 5th. So remember, this is like a negative 1 to the 5th power. So an odd power, so a negative number raised to an odd power makes a negative 1. So this becomes negative 1 times 56 times 4 to the 3rd power. And I get negative 3,584. So negative 3,584, and that is x to the 5th power. I got to keep going down here. So now I'm going to do this guy. So again, I got a negative raised to an even power, so it makes it a positive 1. So positive. So I'm just going to multiply 28 times 4 squared. So that's like 28 times 16, because I know 4 squared. 28 times 16 gives me 448. So now we're at 448, and that's x to the 6th. Alright? And now we're going to move to the 7th power. I got a negative 1 raised to the 7th power. So it's a negative to an odd power. It means I'm going to have a negative 1. So negative 1 times my 8 times my 4, which makes a negative 32. It's negative 32, and that's x to the 7th power. When I come down here, I've got a negative raised to an even power, which makes it a positive 1 times 1 is a positive 1, and then x to the 8th. I don't have to put the 1 there. This is my final answer. I know that's a long behind answer, but you guys can do it. It's just little by little. You have to do one step at a time and not feel like you have to rush it. All right? All right, we're going to do one more of those. So we're going to do one that's smaller. We're going to do 3a minus 7 to the 3rd power, number 21. It'll be the last one we do today. So I put this up. We're going to do number 21, which is 3a minus 7, and this is going to be to the 3rd power. All right, so we're almost done. Okay, so tell me, what is our degree, Alex? That's right, my degree is 3. Okay, so now I need to know what two things, Andres. That's right, my a value and my b value. All right, Gio, what's my a value? That's correct, it's 3a. And my b value? That's correct. My b value is negative 7. All right, since I'm going to a degree of 3, I want to make sure I'm on that 3rd row. So my leading coefficient for my 3rd row should always be what for every one of them? That's right, 1. All right, then I'm going to go with my a value to the 3rd power and no b value. Then what is my next leading coefficient? Fantastic, it is a 3. Then I'm going to go to the 2nd power of my a, and then my b value comes into the 1st power. All right, then my next leading coefficient, beautiful, is 3. Then I'm going to go to my a to the 1st power and my b to the 2nd power. And my final coefficient, that's right, is 1. I don't have an a value, and my b value is now up to the 3rd power. So now I'm going to go ahead and drop those guys in. My a value is 3a to the 3rd, 3a to the 2nd, 3a to the 1st, no a. Then we'll go to the b value. The b value is negative 7 to the 3rd, negative 7 to the 2nd, negative 7 to the 1st, no, negative 7. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and finish out by solving these. All right, so we're going to figure this out. We're going to first take 3a and raise it to the 3rd power. So we can take 3 to the 3rd power. So 3 times 3 is 27, times 1 makes 27, and then a to the 3rd. Then here we're going to do our 3 squared. So 3 times 3 is 9. Then 9 times 3 is 27. Then we're going to multiply that 27 times a negative 7. And we get negative 189. And that's a squared, because that's a to the 2nd power. We're going to multiply negative 7 times negative 7, which is a positive 49. And then we're going to take that 49, and we're going to multiply it by 3, and then times 3, or 49 times 9, which is a positive 441a. Then we're going to go to the final one. We're going to do negative 7 times negative 7 times negative 7, so 49 times negative 7, which is a negative 343, times 1 is a negative 343. And then this is my a value to the 3rd power. This is my b value to the 3rd power. Final answer. Sorry for my dog. He barks at everything that goes by. All right, that is everything that we have to learn today. Hope you guys have a fantastic day.